Now I'm gonna demonstrate establishing a bottom for your clay. How you do that is you're gonna dive your two thumbs into the center. It's very important you go into the center of the clay, so make sure you find that. You can do a little divot so you know where you're digging your hands into. And then when you get about an inch to half an inch from the bottom, you're going to go ahead and call that as far as you're gonna go. And then you're gonna bring the clay outward to establish a bottom for your vase or your pot or your bowl, whatever you're making. Okay, so get my hands nice and wet. I'm pushing into the clay from the top. My hands wet again. Once you start to feel friction with the clay, you want to get your hands wet. Okay, still not quite there, so I'm going to dive in with one hand here and support from the outside. You can speed up the wheel when you're doing this if you'd like. The wheel speed is all about what you're comfortable with. So you can have it go faster or slower. Okay, so I'm about half an inch from the bottom to an inch. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. See how I've dived into it a bit? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it outward so I can make, we're going to start with bowls, so I can make a bowl. Now when you're making a bowl, you have to establish a bottom and then you have to make pulls up on the side of it. So talk more about that in a bit. So first I'm going to bring it outward. Nice and evenly, same pressure on both sides. Okay. Just flattening out that bottom still. The sponge helps to smooth out little marks that you may have made with your hands. So this is not a bowl yet because it is too thick on the sides here and it's ready to do some pulls upward, but you can see that the bottom has gotten bigger as I pulled with both sides and pulled outward. So let's talk about pulls. When you do a pull, you can do it straight up from the side. You can do it outward if you're making a bowl. So meaning you're gonna put more pressure with your inside hand if you're making a bowl and less pressure with your outside hand, so it goes out like this. If you were to make a cylinder, which I'll show in another video, you're gonna pull straight up with equal pressure on both sides. Notice my hands are touching, and I'll demonstrate how to do the cylinder in a second. So first bowl, that's what you start with. All right, so I'm gonna take clay from the bottom, pinch it in, and then I'm going to put more pressure towards the outside and begin to open it up at the top too. So it's a slow process, and then you want to make sure you straighten out your rim. All right, do it again. Compressing the clay at the bottom to make a little ribbon that you're then gonna move upward. This is the same technique you would use when making a cylinder or a vase or whatever, but right now we're making bowls, so. All right. So see how it gets a little bit higher every time? might not look like much, but stuff is happening. All right. So general thickness of your clay, you don't want it more than 1 inch thick when you're throwing with clay, or it will explode in the kiln, it will crack, and it could like run into other pieces that are in the kiln and just not work out well. So, now that I've kind of compressed and made everything about 1 inch thick, I'm gonna go ahead and form the bowl. Everything kind of starts from a cylinder. Oh, and there's a piece of clay kind of stuck here. You don't want hard pieces of clay in your clay. You want it to all be the same. Okay. So now that I have a straight cylinder that I've made pulls up with, I'm gonna go ahead and push more with this hand and support with this hand. So you're pushing more on that inside, supporting with the outside. All right. Notice my hands are touching. And I'm bringing the clay slowly outward. It's important that you don't make drastic changes to it too quickly, because clay is very responsive and it may crack, or you may throw it off center if you're trying to do too much at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and make another pull outward. Right now my wheel speed is pretty slow to medium speed. It's just a preference thing. So you can see that it's starting to go outward. I'm gonna keep working on that though. Okay, I was just flattening out the rim there. And when I stick the sponge in there, I'm getting excess water that's building up inside the bowl. Dipping my hands in the water again. Just kind of making a classic bowl. All right, just about there. I'm just smoothing everything out now with the sponge. And it's a bit wobbly. This is not a perfect bowl by any means. Okay. So, let me show you what it looks like. A bowl. Okay. So now we're gonna talk about trimming when the piece is still on the bat. So use this trimming tool. It has a little point, and first I'm going to place it this way at the bottom to trim the excess. See how much I took off there? And then I'm going to have it pointed in to create more that I can trim off. This really helps have it like a good shape. Okay, going back in with the other direction now. All right, so you may be able to see that it's more compacted and a nicer shape there. So here's the finished product for the bowl. You can make your bowls wider, you can make them taller. This is kind of a tall bowl. I can do a more shallow bowl if I'd like to. But this could hold like soup or food, or we'll talk about glazing in another time, but there's food safe glazes and dishwasher safe glazes, microwave safe glazes, so you could actually use what you're making. Okay, so now I'm gonna cut it off using the wire tool. So go ahead, wrap it around my fingers a couple times. If there's any dry stuff on it from someone cutting something off earlier, you want to make sure that you get that off. And if you're looking to lift this off immediately, you want to get your, cut it a couple times and make sure that the wire is nice and wet so it will come off easier. So I'm just gonna go ahead and lift it, kind of turn it a little bit, and then you have your bowl. Okay, so I'm gonna set this over there to dry.